So my first project for Metals 2 is a wakeboard winch. I found some plans online. I've always wanted something like this that is able to be anchored on shore and pull me right to shore so I can ride without a boat anywhere too small to put a boat in. So here's the first basic design of the winch. It shows where the wheels will go and how all the supports line up. This second diagram shows where the fair lead may go for the gap in between the two arms, and then kind of how long all the supports will be. Third one shows exactly where the fair lead, pillow blocks, and wheels will go, so it kind of gives you a better diagram and where they'll all be planned to be. So this is my first checkpoint. I'm still working on my individual project. I've got all my metal cut out and the 45-degree angles cut out, and I've started on welding up the bottom part of my frame. And I've already run into one problem. My first 45-degree angle was not perfect. Didn't add up to perfect 90 degrees because the vertical bandsaw must have been off a couple degrees. So that would have caused my arms not to be perfectly parallel, but the one to be slightly off. So I had to compensate by grinding down one of my 45s to make it perfect 90. So this is my third checkpoint. This week I fully welded my frame, and some of the problems I ran into were my 90s weren't perfect, so I had to grind a lot of them down to make them dang near 90. I've also run into some problems with how my fair lead's going to line up, so I'm going to have to do some adjustments next week. I've adjusted for the fair lead so everything, the bolts line up, and I've also got the holes drilled out for my pull blocks, which will hold the spool. I've also got an engine that I've been working on at home, and I'm pretty close to having that done. Also, I've got the aluminum axle from Midway, which I'll be putting on this week, and the hubs, which I still have to bore out because I realized that it steps down to a 3/4 from the 1-inch main bore. Also, I've drilled some holes for the stakes through the legs and horizontal through the legs, so I can put the stakes through and it'd be easier to pull because I can just lift up on them and have it balance on the wheels. So this week I had to do some more adjustments to my frame. I had to grind down some part of where the fair lead was going because it wasn't flush with the metal. And I also had to fill the holes for my pillow block because they weren't lined up when the axle was placed since the arms are a little off. So I filled those, and I'm just starting to drill some new holes, and I'm going to need some 1/2-inch bushings because they're a little off. So just doing some adjustments on that. This week as well, me and Jared also started on the triangle supports for the log bench for our school project. We got most of the main parts tacked up, and we have just one more middle support to tack up and more, and we have the holes drilled out for one. We still have to drill out obviously the holes on the second one. So this week I was working on getting my hubs attached to the sprocket and my spool. One thing I was struggling with was these, I guess you'd call them studs, weren't perfectly vertical, so I had to hammer them into place until they'd fit the sprocket and the spool. The spool walls I had machined at Midway and got the galvanized piping as well. I also had to get the all thread and whatnot from Hardware Hank, and it turned out really well. I really like how it turned out. Also this week, me and Jarrett painted the triangle supports for the log. It should be drying. At home I've been working on the engine. I've got the centrifugal clutch in, and I should be getting the new crankshaft in now installed this weekend. This week I got my axle all lined up with my pillow blocks and the hubs that are attached to my spool and sprocket. I was having some trouble, just needed to sand it down a little bit for it to fit all the way through. And then I started working on my aluminum repair project on my dad's trailer. He had cut first of all, some of the welds were cracked, so I had to fix those, and then the bottom tubing got some water in it, and in the winter it expanded and cracked it. So I patched those up with the aluminum welder, and now I'm starting on getting these aluminum strips welded on so we can attach hinges to it, because then it'd be collapsible and be easier to pull. So that's what I got done this week. So this week I finished up my gate aluminum project. I got the hinges all lined up and got that graded and brought it home. I also finished up my client project for my dad. He wanted two grates over his drains for his shop. One was 31 inches by 31 inches, one was 30 and a half by 30 and a half inches. And one of them needed to be reinforced, so I welded on about 16 gauge inch and a half bar, and I welded that on one side of it because that one's gonna have forklifts and trucks driving on it. So yeah, that was about all I did this week.